Imagine a world where a government spends millions to study why prisoners want to escape, where a company is legally required to warn you that coffee is hot, or where a law exists telling you not to hunt whales in a landlocked state. Welcome to reality. Across history, governments, corporations, and lawmakers have made decisions so monumentally stupid that you'll wonder how civilization even survived. From warning labels that insult your intelligence to regulations that defy basic logic, we are counting down 50 times common sense was completely thrown out the window. Prepare to lose faith in humanity, one rule at a time. Rule number 1. In 1992, Stella Liebig sued McDonald's after spilling hot coffee on herself, and she won nearly $3 million. The result? Every coffee cup in America now carries a warning that hot coffee is, in fact, hot. The company didn't lower the temperature. They just added a label assuming you might forget that boiling liquid burns skin. It's the moment corporate America decided that instead of fixing the problem, they would rather remind you that fire is warm and water is wet. 20 years later, we're still reading warnings that exist because someone somewhere forgot how physics works. Rule number 2. The state of Oklahoma once passed a law making it illegal to hunt whales. The problem? Oklahoma is landlocked. There isn't an ocean within 500 miles of the state border. Lawmakers apparently wanted to make absolutely sure that no one would harpoon a blue whale. In downtown Tulsa, it's a law so unnecessary that it almost feels like a dare. Did they know something about underground whale migration that the rest of us don't? Or did someone just really hate Moby Dick? Rule number 3. In 2016, the European Union spent nearly €400 on a study to determine the ideal amount of water needed to flush a toilet. The answer, after years of research and bureaucratic debate, was exactly what every plumber already knew. It turns out that highly paid scientists needed government funding to confirm what your grandmother figured out in 1953. If you've ever wondered where your tax money goes, it's probably swirling down a very efficiently researched drain. Rule number 4. American mattress tags carry a legal warning that reads, "Do not remove under penalty of law." For decades, people genuinely believed they could be arrested for tearing off a tiny piece of fabric from their own bed. The law was actually meant for manufacturers and retailers, not consumers. But the wording was so terrifying that an entire generation grew up thinking the mattress police were watching. It's a perfect example of how bad legal writing can turn an entire nation into accidental criminals who are just trying to sleep comfortably. Rule number 5. In 1932, Australia declared war on emus. Actual emus, the birds. The military deployed soldiers with machine guns to protect wheat crops from the flightless birds, who were eating everything in sight. The emus won. Despite firing nearly 10,000 rounds of ammunition, the Australian Army managed to kill only a fraction of the birds before admitting defeat and withdrawing. It remains the only war in history where humans lost to a bird that can't even fly. Do you think the emus knew they were at war? Or did they just think the humans were having a really loud picnic? Rule number 6. California requires businesses to post warnings if any product contains chemicals known to cause cancer. The problem is that almost everything contains trace amounts of something on the list. The result? Every building, parking garage, coffee shop, and theme park in the state has the same sign. When everything has a cancer warning, nothing does. The law was meant to inform people, but it ended up teaching an entire state to completely ignore warning signs. It's a masterclass in how good intentions can create a system where danger becomes white noise. Rule number 7. In 2003, the British government funded a study costing over £100 to determine whether fish feel pain when hooked. After extensive research involving tiny fish electrodes and probably some very confused salmon, scientists concluded that yes, having a metal hook pierce your mouth is indeed uncomfortable. It's the kind of discovery that would have been obvious to anyone who has ever accidentally stepped on a Lego. But apparently, the scientific community needed official confirmation before fish could officially complain. Rule number 8. The United States Patent Office once approved a patent for a method of swinging on a swing. Patent number 6,368,227, filed in 2002, legally protected the revolutionary technique of sitting on a swing and moving back and forth. The inventor was a 5-year-old boy whose father, a patent attorney, filed it as a joke. The patent office approved it anyway. It's a system so broken that a kindergartner technically owned the rights to something children have been doing since the invention of rope. Makes you wonder what else slipped through the approval process while no one was paying attention. Rule number 9. In Switzerland, it is illegal to own just one guinea pig. The law exists because guinea pigs are social animals who get lonely without companionship. While the reasoning is actually quite sweet, the enforcement is where common sense leaves the building. If one guinea pig dies, you're technically breaking the law until you get another one. There's even a guinea pig rental service for people who need a temporary companion. It's a country where your pet's emotional support needs are more legally protected than most human relationships. Rule number 10. Boeing once discovered a software bug that would cause their 787 Dreamliner to lose all electrical power if it stayed on for exactly 248 days continuously. Instead of fixing the underlying code, the official solution was to tell airlines to just restart the plane every 247 days. It's the aviation equivalent of telling someone their car is fine, as long as they never drive it on Tuesdays, when the world's most advanced passenger aircraft has the same solution. As your grandmother's computer, you know common sense has left the cockpit. Would you feel safe flying on a plane that needs to be turned off and on again? Rule number 11. In Florida, it's technically illegal to skateboard without a license. The law dates back to a time when skateboards were considered dangerous new technology that needed government oversight. Today, there are more skateboards than licenses, and no one has been arrested for unlicensed grinding since the 1990s. But the law remains on the books, waiting for some overly enthusiastic officer to demand your skating credentials. It's a rule that exists purely because no one has bothered to remove it, which might be the most Florida thing ever. Rule number 12. In 2009, the Swedish government funded a study to determine why people feel uncomfortable when their boss is standing behind them. The research took 3 years and cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of kroner. The conclusion? People don't like being watched from behind because it feels invasive and threatening. It turns out that basic human instinct, the same instinct that kept our ancestors alive when predators were lurking, required official academic verification. If you've ever felt someone's eyes on the back of your head, congratulations. You've independently replicated Swedish government research. Rule number 13. Amazon once delivered an order with 23 separate packages, each containing a single item, to the same address on the same day. The shipping cost for the company was higher than the total value of the order. Their algorithm decided that sending one box at a time was more efficient than waiting 30 minutes to pack them together. It's a system so committed to speed that it completely forgot about logic. When your delivery driver visits your house more times than your own relatives, maybe it's time to reconsider the definition of efficiency. Rule number 14. In Alabama, it's illegal to wear a fake mustache in church if it causes laughter. The law doesn't ban fake mustaches entirely, just ones that are funny enough to disrupt the service. This means a serious, dignified fake mustache is perfectly legal, while a comedy mustache is grounds for arrest. It raises fascinating questions about who decides which mustaches are too funny, and whether there's a mustache court somewhere in Alabama making these critical distinctions. If your facial hair choices are being legally evaluated, has the law gone too far? Rule number 15. In 1985, Coca-Cola changed their classic formula to New Coke, ignoring decades of customer loyalty and basic market research. The backlash was so severe that the company reversed the decision in just 79 days. They had spent millions on development, ignored every focus group warning, and learned the hard way that if something isn't broken, fixing it will definitely break it. It's a corporate cautionary tale taught in every business school, yet companies still somehow repeat the exact same mistake every decade. Some lessons apparently require infinite relearning. Rule number 16. The European Union once passed a regulation defining the acceptable curvature of bananas. Commission Regulation 2000 to 157/94 specify that bananas must be free from abnormal curvature and at least 14 centimeters long to qualify for the top grade. Farmers across Europe were suddenly measuring their bananas with rulers, and slightly bent fruit was being rejected at the border. The regulation was eventually relaxed, but for years, Europe fought a quiet war against bananas that curved in the wrong direction. It's the bureaucracy's finest hour. Rule number 17. In Arizona, donkeys cannot sleep in bathtubs. The law originated in the 1920s when a local donkey flooded a town after falling asleep in a bathtub that was carried away by a flash flood. Rather than addressing the obvious issues of donkey supervision and bathtub storage, lawmakers decided the problem was specifically donkeys sleeping in specifically bathtubs. Wide-awake donkeys in bathtubs remain perfectly legal, as do sleeping donkeys in showers. The law solves a problem that has occurred exactly once in human history. Rule number 18. In 1999, NASA lost a $125 million Mars orbiter because one engineering team used metric units, while another used imperial. The spacecraft entered Mars's atmosphere at the wrong angle and disintegrated because someone forgot to convert inches to centimeters. It's the most expensive unit conversion error in human history, and proof that even rocket scientists can fail at basic math coordination. If the smartest people on Earth can make this mistake, what hope do the rest of us have? Maybe we should all just pick one system and stick with it. Rule number 19. Many consumer electronics come with a warning label saying "do not eat." Batteries, memory cards, and television remotes all carry disclaimers advising against consumption. Somewhere in the legal department, someone decided that the average consumer might look at a lithium battery and think it was a delicious snack. These warnings exist because at some point, someone actually tried. It's a humbling reminder that warning labels aren't written by pessimists. They're written by people who have seen the lawsuits. Rule number 20. In Indiana, it's illegal to take a bath during the winter months. The law was passed in the early 1900s when people believed that bathing in cold weather would lead to illness. Rather than letting citizens make their own hygiene choices, the state decided to legally mandate uncleanliness for several months a year. The law is still technically on the books, making every winter shower in Indiana a minor act of rebellion. If you've ever felt guilty about a long hot bath in January, at least you now know you're technically a criminal. Rule number 21. In 2012, IKEA released a furniture instruction manual that was 28 pages long for a simple bookshelf. The bookshelf had 4 pieces. Users spent more time reading instructions than actually building the thing, and most of them gave up and improvised anyway. It's the ultimate example of overcomplication, where the fear of customer confusion created more confusion than the product ever could. When your instructions need instructions, you've officially defeated the purpose of having a manual. Have you ever successfully built IKEA furniture without extra pieces left over? Rule number 22. In Kentucky, it's illegal to remarry the same person 4 times. 3 marriages to the same person are fine, but the 4th is where the law draws the line. It's unclear what problem this law was meant to solve or why 4 was the magic number. Did Kentucky lawmakers witness someone on their 5th marriage to the same spouse and finally say enough is enough? It's a law that exists purely to tell people that their indecision has legal limits. Romance is allowed, but bureaucracy has standards. Rule number 23. In 2007, the U.S. government spent $1.2 million to study why prisoners want to escape. Researchers interviewed inmates, analyzed escape attempts, and eventually concluded that prisoners don't like being in prison. This groundbreaking discovery confirmed what every crime movie, escape documentary, and basic understanding of human nature already told us. The money could have funded scholarships, infrastructure, or anything else, but instead, it funded the official documentation of the obvious. Rule number 24. In Minnesota, it's illegal to stand around any building without a good reason. The law is so vague that technically, waiting for a friend outside a coffee shop could be considered loitering. Police have complete discretion to decide whose reasons are good enough and whose aren't. It's a law that criminalizes the act of doing nothing, which is both impressively authoritarian and completely unenforceable. If you've ever awkwardly waited outside a building while checking your phone, Minnesota says you might be a criminal. Rule number 25. Apple's original iPhone came with without a copy and paste function. The most advanced smartphone of its time couldn't perform a task that desktop computers had been doing since the 1970s. Users spent years manually retyping text that they wanted to move from one app to another. When copy and paste was finally added in 2009, it was celebrated as a major innovation rather than the correction of an embarrassing oversight. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs are just fixing mistakes that should never have happened in the first place. Rule number 26. In France, it was illegal to name a pig Napoleon until 2013. The law was originally passed to protect the honor of Napoleon Bonaparte and somehow survived over 100 years of legal reform. For 2 centuries, French pig farmers had to come up with alternative names for their livestock, while one specific name remained legally forbidden. It's unclear how many pigs were almost named Napoleon or how many farmers were prosecuted, but the law suggests that someone was deeply concerned about the dignity of a man who died in 1821. What would you name a pig that couldn't legally be called Napoleon? Rule number 27. In 2018, a Japanese government minister admitted he had never used a computer. This wouldn't be remarkable except that he was the newly appointed Minister of Cybersecurity. The man responsible for protecting Japan from hackers and digital threats had never sent an email in his life. When questioned, he proudly explained that he had always had assistants handle technology for him. It's the governmental equivalent of putting someone who can't swim in charge of the Navy. Security has never felt so insecure. Rule number 28. Most medication commercial side effects last longer than the actual advertisement. For the medication, a 60-second commercial will spend 45 seconds listing everything that could go wrong, including death, while spending 15 seconds explaining what the drug actually does. By the time the legal disclaimer is finished, viewers have forgotten what problem the pill was supposed to solve in the first place. It's a system designed to protect companies from lawsuits while terrifying patients into questioning whether their headache is really worth risking sudden personality changes or unexplained bleeding. Medicine has never sounded less medicinal. Rule number 29. In 2004, officials in the Chinese city of Fuyang cracked down on illegal blood selling by requiring donors to present valid identification. The problem was that many illegal blood sellers simply started using fake IDs. The government had created a new market for identity fraud while doing almost nothing to actually stop the blood trade. It's a classic example of solving one problem by creating 2 more when your solution requires another solution. Maybe the original plan needed more thought. Rule number 30. In 1999, the state of Alabama kept a ban on interracial marriage in their constitution, even though it had been federally illegal since 1967. When they finally voted to remove it, 40% of voters chose to keep the unenforceable ban on the books. The state spent money and time on a vote for a law that couldn't be enforced anyway, and a significant portion of the population voted to keep illegal language in their legal documents. It's a reminder that sometimes laws outlive their purpose by decades, and removing them is somehow controversial. How many outdated laws are sitting in your state's constitution right now? Rule number 31. In Singapore, chewing gum was banned in 1992 after vandals used it to jam train doors. Rather than prosecuting the vandals or improving door mechanisms, the government decided that the problem was the gum itself. For decades, importing, selling, or even possessing chewing gum could result in massive fines. The ban has been slightly relaxed for therapeutic gum, but recreational chewing remains a legal gray area. It's a country where fresh breath can be a criminal offense if you achieve it the wrong way. Rule number 32. In Britain, it's illegal to handle a salmon under suspicious circumstances. The Salmon Act of 1986 makes it a crime to receive or dispose of salmon in ways that suggest you knew it was illegally caught. The law doesn't define what suspicious circumstances actually means, leaving it entirely to interpretation. Is a salmon suspicious if you're holding it in a trench coat? What about at 3 a.m.? Somewhere in Britain, a judge has probably had to decide whether the way someone carried a fish was legally concerning. If you've ever held a salmon nervously, you may already be a suspect. Rule number 33. In 2010, The Los Angeles School District purchased $33 million worth of iPads for students, then discovered that the devices had no keyboards. Students were expected to type essays and complete assignments on touchscreens, designed for watching videos. The district then spent additional millions buying keyboard attachments. It's an example of technology being purchased for the appearance of innovation, rather than actual practicality. When the solution costs more than the original problem, someone definitely skipped the planning meeting. Rule number 34. In Ohio, it's illegal to get a fish drunk. The law presumably exists because someone, at some point, attempted to intoxicate aquatic life for entertainment purposes, rather than trusting citizens to not pour alcohol into fish tanks. Ohio legislators decided this required explicit legal prohibition. It raises fascinating questions about enforcement. Are there undercover officers monitoring pet stores? Is there a blood alcohol limit for goldfish? The law exists, which means somewhere in Ohio's history, a fish-related drinking incident occurred. Rule number 35. In 2003, the Recording Industry Association of America sued a 12-year-old girl for downloading music, demanding $150,000 per song. Her mother settled out of court for $2,000, using money intended for school supplies. The industry that claimed to be protecting artists was instead taking lunch money from children, while executives earned millions. It's a case study in how legal technically right can be morally completely wrong. The law allowed it. Common sense begged them not to. Should corporations be allowed to sue children? Or does the law need an age limit on financial destruction? Rule number 36. In Vermont, women must get written permission from their husbands to wear false teeth. The law dates back to a time when women had significantly fewer legal rights, and their bodies were considered marital property. It remains on the books purely because removing outdated laws requires effort that legislators would rather spend elsewhere. Every woman in Vermont wearing dentures is technically either a criminal or has a signed permission slip in her purse. It's a reminder that old laws don't disappear. They just become embarrassing historical artifacts that everyone pretends don't exist. Rule number 37. In 2017, United Airlines forcibly removed a paying passenger from an overbooked flight, breaking his nose and knocking out teeth in the process. Their initial statement blamed the passenger for being disruptive and belligerent. The video showed a 69-year-old doctor being dragged unconscious down the aisle. United stock dropped $1.4 billion in a single day. It's a masterclass in how not to handle customer relations, public relations, or basic human decency. When dragging a bleeding passenger off a plane seems like a good idea to anyone in the room, your training program has failed spectacularly. Rule number 38. In 1977, the city of Madison, Wisconsin, passed a resolution giving citizens the right to enjoy sunshine. The ordinance officially declared that the people have a right to benefit from natural solar energy. While environmentally forward-thinking, the law is completely unenforceable. The sun doesn't care about municipal regulations, and cloudy days technically violate citizens' rights. It's a law so optimistic and so pointless that it almost becomes inspiring. At least somewhere in America, the right to enjoy nice weather is legally protected. Rule number 39. Many airplane safety demonstrations still include instructions for ashtrays, even though smoking on planes was banned over 30 years ago. Airlines spent millions on new seat designs and safety videos, but kept the ashtray references because updating every manual was too expensive. It's a system so committed to outdated procedures that they would rather confuse modern passengers than revise a paragraph. When your safety equipment references habits that haven't existed since the 1980s, your update schedule might need updating. Rule number 40. In 2014, the city of Detroit had so many stray dogs that they outnumbered humans in some neighborhoods. The city's response was to propose a dog census to count all the strays before taking action. By the time they finished counting, the dog population had changed completely. It's a bureaucracy so committed to data collection that it forgot the point was to actually solve the problem. When your paperwork takes longer than the crisis, maybe skip the forms and start the solution. Has any government ever been too efficient? Rule number 41. In London, it's illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament. The reasoning is that anyone who dies in a royal palace is entitled to a state funeral, and the government doesn't want to pay for ceremonies. So instead of just not offering state funerals, they made dying itself illegal. Technically, if you have a heart attack during a parliamentary debate, you're breaking the law. It's unclear what punishment a corpse would face, but somewhere in British legal history, this seemed like a reasonable solution. Death, apparently, is a legislative matter. Rule number 42. In 2016, Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 phones started catching fire and exploding. Samsung's initial fix was to send replacement phones to affected customers. The replacements also caught fire. They eventually recalled all devices and banned them from airplanes, turning a smartphone into an aviation hazard. It's a product launch so catastrophic that an entire phone model became synonymous with explosion risk. When your product is mentioned in the same breath as dynamite, your quality control department has serious questions to answer. Rule number 43. Many terms and conditions agreements are written so that reading them completely would take longer than using the product itself. A 2012 study found that if you read every privacy policy you encountered in a year, it would take 76 work days. Companies know nobody reads them, which is exactly why they bury concerning clauses in paragraph 47 of Section 12. It's a legal system designed to overwhelm, confuse, and ultimately protect corporations from users who trusted the I agree button. When was the last time you actually read what you agreed to? Rule number 44. In 2018, a man in the Netherlands tried to legally change his age from 69 to 49, arguing that if people could change their gender, they should be able to change their birth date. The court denied his request, explaining that age is tied to objective facts like birth records and biological development. But the case raised genuine questions about what legal identity actually means and who gets to define it. The law says you are when you were born, not when you feel you were born. Some things, apparently, are still beyond bureaucratic adjustment. Rule number 45. IKEA once published a catalog where they digitally removed all women from images distributed in Saudi Arabia. Rather than refusing to alter their content or creating unique photography, they simply erased female existence from their furniture advertisements. The company later apologized, but the fact that someone approved this decision remains baffling. When your desire to sell bookshelves overrides basic principles, your business ethics might need furniture of their own. Would you shop at a company that erased you to make a sale? Rule number 46. In 2012, New York City attempted to ban the sale of sugary drinks larger than 16 ounces to combat obesity. The law didn't ban buying to 16-ounce drinks, refilling your cup, or purchasing unlimited candy. It specifically targeted one arbitrary cup size in one specific category. The law was struck down by courts, but not before the city spent millions defending a regulation that would have inconvenienced soda lovers while doing almost nothing for public health. When your health initiative can be defeated by purchasing 2 cups instead of 1, the plan needs reconsideration. Rule number 47. In 2006, the Oxford English Dictionary officially added "der" as a real English word, crediting The Simpsons. A cartoon character's expression of frustration is now legally recognized vocabulary. Future scholars studying the English language will have to acknowledge that Homer Simpson contributed to legitimate linguistic evolution. It's either a celebration of pop culture's influence on language or a sign that dictionary standards have completely collapsed. Either way, "der" is officially more legitimate than many words your English teacher corrected. Rule number 48. In 2009, Zimbabwe printed a $100 trillion bill that was worth less than the paper it was printed on. Hyperinflation had made the currency so worthless that people needed wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread. The government's solution was to print more money, which made inflation worse. Eventually, they abandoned their currency entirely and started using US dollars. It's an economics lesson that every country learns eventually. You cannot print your way out of a financial crisis. When your money becomes a collector's item instead of a payment method, your economy has officially entered absurdist territory. Rule number 49. In Texas, it's illegal to shoot a buffalo from the second floor of a hotel. The first floor is apparently fine, as is any other building that isn't a hotel. The law presumably dates from a time when buffalo roamed near lodging establishments, and guests had a strange habit of recreational wildlife shooting from their rooms. Today, it's a law that protects literally no buffalo while remaining technically enforceable. If you find yourself in a Texas hotel with a rifle and a buffalo outside, make sure you check which floor you're on. Rule number 50. Every year, governments worldwide spend billions of dollars creating laws, regulations, and policies that require even more money to enforce, interpret, and occasionally repeal. The legal system is an infinite loop of fixing problems caused by previous fixes. We write rules about rules, create committees to oversee committees, and fund studies about why studies are so expensive. The ultimate failure of common sense isn't any single law. It's the system itself, which grows larger, more complicated, and more confusing with every attempt to simplify it. We don't just ignore common sense once. We've institutionalized the ignoring of it into an industry that employs millions and consumes trillions. From banana curvature regulations to state-funded wizard studies, these 50 examples prove that humanity's relationship with logic has always been complicated at best. We're not just bad at common sense. We've made ignoring it a professional skill. If you could eliminate one ridiculous law or policy from existence tomorrow, which one would it be? Share your answer in the comments, and let's see which failure of logic deserves to disappear first.